My GPS froze mid-route and never recovered. After a while, I stopped checking it. Around late afternoon, I started noticing the same turnoff over and over again. The first time I passed it, I remembered the name, Old Hollow Road. The sign was rusted, half hidden in tall grass. An abandoned truck sat crooked just past the intersection, windshield smashed in, tires flattened with age. I thought it was a landmark worth remembering. Rural roads tend to blur together. But then I passed it again, a few miles later, and again, same sign, same truck, same sky. By the fourth time, the air in the car felt thinner, the trees too still. I stopped the car, got out, walked a few steps into the woods. Everything was silent, not peaceful, empty. No wind, no bird song, even my footsteps felt muted. When I got back in the car, the dashboard clock was stuck at 4:17. It hadn't moved since I noticed the road repeating. I tried my phone. It wouldn't turn on. Not even the charging symbol, just a dead black screen. It had been almost full that morning. I kept driving. What else was I going to do? Then I saw him. At the turnout, the one I kept passing, a hitchhiker stood with his thumb out like something from a photograph. Black hoodie, dark jeans, no bag, no sign. Just standing there, staring at the ground. I drove past without slowing. But 2 minutes later, without meaning to, I found myself pulling over, like something had reached in and nudged me from the inside. The car idled. I watched the side mirror, expecting him to appear. He did. Not hurried, calm, like he knew exactly how long I would take to stop. He got in without asking, closed the door gently, and settled in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead. He looked young, maybe 20. His clothes were clean, too clean. Skin pale, not in the way of someone who doesn't get sun, but like something had been drained out of him. No scent, no signs of travel, just a body in a seat. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the road. I don't know why I kept driving. I should have asked where he was going or said something normal, but nothing felt normal. Not the quiet, not the air, not the way he kept glancing at the rearview mirror like he expected to see something behind us. Eventually, I asked if he was from around here. Sort of, he said, but he didn't sound local. I tried again. Where are you headed? He turned toward me, just slightly. I caught his eyes. Pale, not light. Pale like milk diluted with too much water. They didn't match the rest of his face. You don't remember, do you? My grip tightened on the wheel. I asked him what he meant. The crash, he said. You should have seen the tree before it saw you. I braked too hard, veering off onto the shoulder, gravel popping under the tires. The engine ticked softly when I cut it. Get out, that's all I could manage. He didn't argue. He opened the door, stepped out like it was no big deal, and stood there, hands in his hoodie pocket, staring down the road. You'll come back, he said, without looking. I drove off, fast. The tension behind my eyes hadn't broken, just coiled tighter. 10 minutes later, I rounded a bend. The trees parted. The turnout appeared again. So did the hitchhiker. Same hoodie, same stance, same waiting. I didn't stop again. Not for the hitchhiker, not for gas, not even when the hunger crept up behind my ribs and settled there like a second pulse. I just drove. But the world had gone soft at the edges. The trees kept folding back in on themselves. Same curves, same leaning fence post, same roadkill I passed 3 times. A flattened possum with its limbs stiff in the air, stuck in a loop like everything else. I turned off onto the first side road I saw. No name, no markers. It coiled through denser woods, the light falling in weird angles. Eventually, I came to a gas station. That's what the sign said anyway. Gas, cold drinks, cigarettes, ice. All hand-painted in chipped red letters. The building sagged to one side like it had been caught mid-collapse. One pump, no other cars. I stepped inside. A bell chimed above the door, tinny and hollow. The lights flickered but didn't come on fully. The air smelled like wet paper and bleach. Rows of snacks lined the shelves, all off-brand, labels I'd never seen before. Jerky in faded plastic, potato chips with names like Crunch and Saltzy. Behind the counter stood a man, mid-50s maybe, thin, with a white stubble jaw and skin like yellow newspaper. His eyes locked on me the moment I walked in and didn't blink. I asked if he had a bathroom. He pointed, wordless. I didn't need to go. I just needed a second, somewhere to breathe. The hallway was too long. The door at the end had no handle. I turned around. The hallway behind me had changed, longer, darker. The shelves I passed now held things I hadn't noticed. Dolls with melted faces, jars of something gray floating in liquid, a mirror cracked down the center. When I stepped back into the main store, the man was gone. In his place, standing behind the counter, was the hitchhiker. Not just similar, him. Same pale skin, same stillness. Only now, he was wearing my jacket. I didn't speak. I turned and left. The bell didn't ring when I opened the door. Back in the car, the sky had darkened too quickly. The forest looked unfamiliar now. Not just eerie, theatrical, painted, wrong. I drove until the station disappeared behind the trees, kept going until the road gave way to gravel, then dirt, then cracked blacktop again. The transitions didn't make sense, like pieces from different places stitched together. A voice came on the radio. It wasn't a song, just a whisper. A single word, repeated over and over. My name. I slammed the knob with my palm. The sound didn't stop. I looked at the mirror. The back seat wasn't empty. He sat behind me, calm as ever, gazing out the window like he'd been there the whole time. No shock, no movement, no sound from me. Just a deep, gnawing cold spreading from the base of my neck. I didn't ask how he got in. He wasn't looking at me. His eyes were on something outside, or beyond, like he was waiting for a cue I couldn't hear. I drove until I couldn't anymore. The road ended at a concrete barrier I didn't remember passing before. Trees towered on all sides, leaning in too close, as if listening. I turned off the engine and got out. He didn't follow. I walked into the woods, not far, just enough to feel the trees surround me. The air was thick, the kind that clings to your skin like wet cloth. The smell of rot and pine and something metallic, like old coins. I bent over. Something was twisting in my stomach, a dry heave, then bile. I stared into the puddle it made. The reflection wasn't mine. The face staring back looked like me, but off. The skin was grayer, the eyes too wide. The mouth didn't move when mine did, just hung open, like it was screaming soundlessly under the surface. I stumbled back, tripped, landed hard on my spine. The sky above the trees had turned red without transition. When I made it back to the car, the back seat was empty. But my jacket, the one the hitchhiker had worn, was folded neatly on the passenger seat. Inside the breast pocket, where I always kept it, was the letter I never sent, the one I'd left on the table at home, still sealed. Addressed, unwritten, and on the dashboard, scrawled into the condensation, were 4 words. You never made it. I started the engine. The clock blinked 4:17. I kept driving, but I don't remember the roads anymore. Not in the usual way, not like you forget a street name or miss a turn. I mean, nothing was familiar. Every tree looked half melted into the next. The air outside the window didn't move. The sky held the same gray light no matter how many hours passed. There was no sun, no stars, just the color of a headache. The radio stayed dead. The clock, 4:17. Every time I looked. I tried turning around, tried stopping the car, tried walking instead, but it all led back to road. Like I wasn't moving through space, but looping through a corridor dressed in bark and fog. Eventually, I stopped trying to resist it. I let the road take me wherever it wanted. That's when I saw the wreck. The car was halfway down a wooded slope, nose first into a pine tree. Crushed, folded, shattered windshield, the glass like crushed ice in the weeds. A color I recognized immediately, dull red, with a dent in the same spot mine had. I climbed down, branches tearing at my sleeves. My feet sunk into the soft earth, and for the first time in days, or hours or minutes or whatever time was now, I felt real pain, something sharp under my knee, blood. Good, that felt honest. When I reached the car, I didn't need to check the license plate. I knew. It was mine. Not a copy, not similar. Mine. Same cracked dashboard, same sticker half peeled from the back window. Inside, my phone, face down on the passenger floor. The screen glowed faintly when I picked it up. A voicemail was playing. I didn't recognize the number, but the voice? My sister. Her voice, her laugh, caught mid-sentence. "Just call me back, okay? I had a weird dream. You were in it." The rest cut out in static. I dropped the phone. It didn't break. It just kept playing, the voice looping on a perfect, glitching loop. You were in it. You were in it? In the trunk, I found a jacket I hadn't worn since winter, folded tight, blood on the collar. I remember leaving that jacket in my apartment. I remember not packing it. I remembered the look on my sister's face the last time she hugged me, like she already knew I wouldn't come back. There was a whisper in the trees, low, like wind, but too rhythmic. I turned. He was standing at the top of the slope, not smiling, just waiting. When I climbed back up, he didn't move. "There's more than one kind of dead," he said. "Some people get buried. Some people get stuck." I told him I didn't believe in this, in purgatory or ghosts or whatever story he thought he was in. He just looked at me, not pitying, not angry, just patient. Then he said something I hadn't let myself think, not once since the drive began. "You weren't alone in that car." And the bottom dropped out of everything. Because now I remembered the second voice, the scream, the silence after, the way I crawled out and didn't look back. I told myself it was a dream, that I never crashed, that I left because I needed to get away, because I was unraveling and no one could help. I'd built a whole, clean version of the story, one I could live with. And this place, this road, had let me do that. The hitchhiker turned, walking into the woods. Not away, not forward, just deeper. I followed. The path led to a clearing. There were others, people wandering, alone, like sleepwalkers. Blank stares. Some whispered to themselves. Some were curled up in the dirt, rocking. A few stared straight into the trees, waiting for something. None of them looked up. I recognized one of them, the man from the gas station. Only now he looked younger, cleaner. His hands weren't shaking. He mouthed something I couldn't hear. I turned in a slow circle, and the trees pulsed like lungs around us. Then I saw her. Not real, not exactly, but my sister, the memory of her, flickered between the branches, reaching out, calling my name. But every time I stepped toward her, the clearing folded in, and I was back where I started. The hitchhiker stood by a dead tree, watching. "You're not stuck because you died," he said. "You're stuck because you lied." And suddenly I understood. This place didn't care if I was dead or alive. It only cared if I could admit what I did. The clearing faded behind me, or maybe I stepped out of it without realizing. The trees bled into one another, the color draining from the world in slow washes. My hands looked gray. My breath didn't fog in the air anymore. I didn't remember choosing a direction, but I was walking, alone now. The hitchhiker had vanished again, like a guide who delivered me to the final gate and stepped back into the silence. The forest thinned into something worse, open ground, but not empty. A narrow stretch of crumbling asphalt cut through the field like a scar. No markings, just road, raw and waiting. It pulsed faintly under my feet, like it was alive. In the distance, the headlights of a car blinked on. I didn't want to walk toward it, but I was already moving. The air smelled like burnt rubber, and something sweeter underneath, like melted plastic and pine needles. The car was my own, whole this time, idling at the center of a wide loop of road I didn't recognize. Its door hung open. Inside, the driver's seat was empty. I looked at the dashboard. 417. The key was in the ignition. I sat down. It felt cold, like a room where someone had just died. For a moment, I let my hands rest on the wheel. And then, the crash came back, not as a flashback, as a sensation. The weightless second before impact. The scream, her scream. The sound of my hands gripping the wheel and not turning it. The tree rushing up like it had been waiting for us. And then the silence afterward. The way her hand slid off my arm and into her lap. Still, I had crawled out of that car and walked away. Just walked, left her there. Told myself I would come back once I got help. Told myself it was too dark, too cold, too dangerous to stay. But I never did. I'd driven until the road wrapped around itself and memory went numb. And something, whatever ruled this place, had let me do that. The passenger door opened. The hitchhiker sat down beside me. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. I asked what this place was, whether it was punishment or purgatory or just a trick of the dying brain. He didn't answer. Outside the windows, the world had gone black. No stars, just void. Then, movement in the rearview mirror. My sister, in the back seat, staring straight ahead. Blood dried at her temple. Her head leaned too far to one side. She didn't blink. I turned around. The seat was empty. The hitchhiker watched me carefully. "There's a price for forgetting," he said finally. "You paid it early, and now you owe." I asked what he meant. He gestured toward the road, then leaned in and whispered something I'll never fully remember. It felt like a memory being planted instead of spoken. Then he stepped out. I watched him walk into the dark, and I started the engine. The road lit itself ahead of me, even without headlights. The trees arched over it like ribs. I drove. It felt like hours, days, or maybe no time at all. Then, brake lights. A car ahead of me, slowed, turning off at a turnout. And I understood. This was the start again. The loop. The moment I first saw him. The other me, whoever I used to be, was about to pass the hitchhiker on the side of the road. I watched it play out. The car slowed, stopped. He climbed in. Not the one beside me now. That version of him. Younger, waiting. And me? I kept driving. I didn't stop at the turnout. Not this time. But I knew better than to think it was over. The radio turned itself on, static again, but underneath it, another voice, mine, saying the same 4 words etched on the glass. "You never made it." And outside the window, through the trees, dozens of other roads wound through the dark, each one with a car, each car with a driver, each driver chasing their own unfinished moment.
Some roads never lead you home, and some won't let you leave at all. If you want to hear more stories like this one, come sit by the fire again soon. There's always room for one more. Don't forget to subscribe. We've only just begun.